Hello everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to look at how the markets always have the last say. No matter how good our analysis is, it's the markets that actually do their thing, and sometimes we have to accept that the markets are the ones who are in control. We can't force our own opinion on the markets. But as usual, let's start with the risk disclaimer. Remind you that all these examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades are actually taken, they're just shown for illustration and trading purposes only. Remind you there's a risk of loss in trading and investing, or put another way, all professional traders know and understand, but more importantly accept that losses can and will and do unfold. So this partly what today's video is about, is that markets will do their own thing. So the setups I want to look at today, or the setup I want to look at today in particular, is this TS3, W3 or Wave 3 sell here on the ES. I just want to show you how at the time this looked like it was setting up to be a very good trade indeed, but obviously the market had different ideas. So as usual, rather than just using our MTP trend colors for our large degree trend, we like to confirm this by going out to the higher time frame chart. The higher time frame is between 3 and 5 time frames higher, so for a 3-minute chart would be out to the 15-minute. If we're looking at say 15-minute forex, it would be out on the hourly. If you're looking at daily stocks, for example, it would be out on the weekly. So I just want to use our training mode, and I want to go back to before even yesterday even opened. So this is what your chart would have looked like before yesterday, which was September the 10th even opened. You can see here the low of the previous day was caught very nicely by our 15-minute DP, but now let's place the DP on for today. So this is the last swing into the low. So we go back to this pivot high here, we right mouse click, we do decision point, and can you see how this is on the chart in advance? So even before the market even opened, this gave you an area of potential resistance. If we go forward, we see the market opened, went up, and can you see how it caught this high absolutely perfectly, went right into this high here. If I turn training mode off, can you see how that actually turned out to be the high of the day? So the point being is that at that particular point in time, just after the open, we'll go to a 3-minute chart in a minute to have a closer look. That looked like resistance was coming in nicely. So let's now come down to the 3-minute chart, and as you can see there it is nailing the high absolutely perfectly. If I now use trading mode and jump back to here, you can see what this looks like at the time, and it's always important to look at these at the time without the benefit of hindsight. So at the time this looked to be an absolutely perfect TS3 or W3 or Wave 3 trade setup, where we had the start of our sequence. Remember, we believe that markets go in cycles, so any analysis should only be done about 50% of the time, i.e. when the pattern's clear. So half the time when the market is in an unclear pattern or a choppy or basically a pattern where you can't get any clear idea of the large degree trend, then you should stand aside. But when it all comes together, then you have a basis to do some analysis, and that's what appeared to be happening here, where we had the market making a reversal at our higher time frame resistance. You can see it looked absolutely perfect. The market made the initial move down. In Elliott wave terms, that would be wave 1. Remember, we use our isolation approach to Elliott wave, so we start our sequence at the higher time frame support and resistance. So this looked like a wave 1. We then looked at like a potential A, B, C correction into a wave 2. If I place the analysis on here, you can see that's exactly what it looked like. And what we were anticipating at the time was a strong decline in a wave 3 kind of swing, looking down into the typical wave 3 WPT. If I right mouse click off this low here, you can see this also came in at the area of DP resistance. So at the time this looked like a very, very good trade setup. But this is what happens sometimes, is if I now move, well actually I'll just turn training mode off so we see the rest of the day. So basically the market had other opinions. You can see this was our target, so you would have been taken into a short trade. The market went down, and basically it just chopped sideways for the rest of the day. So this is real life, I'm afraid, guys, is that no matter what we want, no matter how good our analysis on, we cannot force our opinion on the market. The market will always do what it wants to do. So we have to learn to basically react to what the market's doing, rather than saying, oh yes, here's a perfect setup, therefore the market has to go to a certain level. This is a mistake amateur traders make. So this is why I wanted to show you this video today, is that sometimes, no matter how good your analysis is, the markets may have other opinions. So what actually happened on this particular trade setup? Well, as you can see, it went down a bit and then chopped sideways. And one thing we look at as well is the first area of minor support or resistance is the DP off the minor wave B. So here's our ABC correction. So this would be our minor wave B. So we right mouse click, do a decision point. So this would be an area of potential support. If I drag it across, you can see this actually caught the low quite nicely indeed. So even though the market went down and chopped sideways, it actually did decline into our first sort of minor support zone before drifting sideways. At that particular area, a potential profit of about 3R was available. So if you're worried by this, and there were other reasons to be worried, for example, if I go to the YM chart, you can see here the YM made its high right at its 15-minute resistance. In this case, it did actually keep on declining down. It was weaker than the ES and went down into its 15-minute support. So just as it was coming into its 15-minute support, the ES was coming into its minor DP support off the wave B. So you may wanted to perhaps bring your stop a bit closer, perhaps trail with the ATR stop. You can see that's our red dots there. If you'd done that, which is about there, you could have locked in perhaps a 1.7R profit. Now that wasn't a great profit, but it was a profitable trade nevertheless. But this is really what I wanted to stress today, is that no matter how good your analysis is, the market will always be right and its actions will always do what it wants to do. And sometimes this is what can happen, and this is why we talk about the cyclical nature of trading and how markets go in cycles. Earlier in the video I said that we don't do analysis when the market pattern is unclear. We only look to have times, or we only look to do analysis when the market pattern is clear. But we can also get a situation like this, and when the market pattern was perfectly clear at this TS3 W3 setup, but after we'd got into a short trade, so after you were actually shortening the market, then the cycle went into the unclear period, or into the choppy period, or into the fog as I like to call it, and then started to basically chop sideways. So this is something you need to be aware of, is that the markets can go into the random or choppy or unclear phase when you're already in a trade setup. This doesn't mean the setup was bad or it's wrong, it just means that this is what markets do. And it's a sad fact that most amateur traders try to force their will on the market, and they just don't seem to understand that it's the market that's actually right. The market is the one that has the final say. All we can do as traders is basically work with the market and adjust our positions and our attitude of what the market, or our anticipation of where the market's going, as the market unfolds, and basically watch the pattern as the market's unfolding. So hopefully this is a good video to basically give you a reality check, in that sometimes trading is not as easy as some other vendors seem to portray, when they only just give idealized examples and perfect setups when everything works out perfectly. But here we want to try and give you a bit more realistic look at what the markets do, and show you that sometimes trading can be hard. Sometimes the market will just drift sideways and go into a random pattern, and quite frankly will not be absolutely perfect. Trading is a hard business, and most amateur traders don't seem to understand that. So that's why I wanted to do this video today, to show you that markets can and will very often be hard and go into choppy sideways patterns when you least expect it.